Okay, so today I'm going to speak about something which is a little difficult for me to speak about. I've been planning to do this video since a while, but every time I was postponing it because I don't feel very comfortable talking about this. I mean, it's easy to talk about this with a friend or with family or close people, but on a video like that on YouTube, it's a little weird because it's embarrassing. Yes, it's a little disturbing. Yes, I feel a little embarrassed to talk about that because, well, it's not a pleasant part of my life and I'm not sure that I really want to talk about that, but in the same time I thought that if I've had a video like that when it happened to me, it would have helped me. I thought that my experience, it was worth giving it if it can be useful to someone else, to help the person going through this experience. There is so much to say, but I'm going to try to stay focused on the main thing to say because I cannot make this video too long. Basically, in my life, I've been dumped. And I dumped when I was younger. I was not always the one who was dumped, fortunately for me, because otherwise it would be rather sad. But you know, when we are young, we are taking it hardly, because I remember that my sweetheart broke up with me when I was 16 and I took it really badly. But once you endure the first experience, the next ones don't seem so terrible. And you learn also how to handle a situation where you break up with someone. It's always better not to do it by a harsh way, to try to be as nice as possible, because it's a very awkward and uncomfortable situation on the both sides, except maybe for the people who love doing that, but that is another problem. We are not in this situation. Also, I want to say that I'm talking about that right now, but I'm not talking about situations where you have to break up with your boyfriend or husband because he's violent with you, or because you are a victim of a rape, or things like that, which are very extreme. Or even if he is, I say he because I'm a woman, but I mean it's valid for example, if you are a man and watching this video, it's also valid if you are talking about a woman. If you have a partner who emotionally is violent with you, I mean it doesn't mean that this person is going to hit you. Violence is not only physical, it can also be psychological. If you have the feeling to be harassed by someone, that is something serious. What I'm going to talk about, it's not for this kind of situation. When the situations are extreme, I would say you must run away as fast as possible. You must protect yourself. You must consult services, social services or therapist, or find a protection from someone or somewhere. I mean, you must act. You must not stay there and endure the situation. Fortunately for me, I never had any husband who was hitting me, who was violent with me, who raped me, who was torturing me psychologically. I've not been in this situation. I was in a normal situation. I'm not going to talk about my first marriage because we both decided to break up. So I'm not saying it was easy, but we decided to get separated. Both of us, we wanted that. So I'm not talking about this situation because in this situation it was an agreement between two people. It was actually very hard on our son, but for us it was kind of okay, even if every time you get separated from someone, especially when you lived a long time with the person, it's harder and harder. My first marriage lasted well, I was married 7 years, but we lived together during 8 years, so it was still a long period, and it was hard. But what I'm going to talk now, it's more about my second marriage. So my second marriage lasted 20 years, almost 20 years, but all the situation which continued after the breakup we arrived at 20 years. So it's much worse. In the same time, our son, because I have a second son from my second marriage, he was already a teenager, so it was hard on him, but not as much as when the kid is small, like for my first marriage, when my first son was a very small child. I would say the first thing is when you break up after a long marriage, or even after living a very long time with someone, and if you have children, you must first think of the best thing for the children. Try not to argue in front of the children, and try to keep them as much as possible outside of that. I know it's hard, it's very hard, but it's the best, because it's not their fault. They shouldn't have to choose between one parent, unless the other parent is violent or something like that, of course. But I mean, in a normal situation, even if the husband or the woman cheated, even if one of them cheated, the child shouldn't have to choose between one of them, because they are still the parents, you know, it doesn't change. The father remains the father, the mother remains the mother, and you cannot change something like that. So I'm going to explain the situation for my second marriage. We were together during 20 years. We were about to leave France to go to Los Angeles, to move to Los Angeles. We had a big project and we were supposed to do that. My younger son was supposed to come with us. My older son had already moved to Japan for a job, so of course my older son didn't plan to come with us in the US because he was in Japan, where actually his father was also, and actually he was already an adult and he was doing his own life. My second son was 16 when it happened, and he was still dependent on us. So that was the plan. We were supposed to leave in May 2000, we were supposed to leave in June 2005, and in May 2005 my ex-husband told me that he may love someone else and that he didn't plan to leave anymore. So I didn't have a job anymore, everything was packed, everything was ready to leave. It was 1 month before the departure, and suddenly this thing happens. I would say your world stops. It's like you don't understand the situation. The fact is that a few months before, not a few months, a few weeks before, I had the feeling that something was wrong. I started being kind of depressed because I had the feeling that I was the only one to prepare the trip. My ex-husband seemed to be kind of not there anymore. He was working like crazy, like if he wanted to build something in Paris. He was starting also being a little critical about me. Suddenly I had a lot of flaws. Suddenly he couldn't be there for this, for that. He went to a professional trip and he missed his plane to come back. All these things are red alerts. I should have known that something was wrong. I knew it, but I was not conscious that I was knowing it. Something in my mind was like, something is wrong, but I couldn't put a finger on it. But after a while, after he was starting being really very critical towards me and very aggressive verbally, I thought, okay, there is something wrong. And one day on phone, I was outside, he was at home. I asked him, no, it's impossible. Do you have someone else? What is going on? And he said yes. And he told me that on phone. So, not very brave. I was outside and I remember that I sat on the bench. Sat on a bench on the boulevard, Richard Lenoir Boulevard. And I was like stunned, like if I received something on my head, and I was kind of stunned. I don't find another word. I was unable to think normally. It started with panic attacks, anxiety, and very quickly it went to a nervous breakdown, depression. However, I would say that the depression probably started before, but I was not aware of it. And that was the thing which made the depression really being there, really, which meant that I couldn't sleep anymore. But when I say anymore, I couldn't sleep at all. I spent 5 days without sleeping, and I had to call a doctor, and he made a shot of, how we call that, Valium to make me sleep, and I managed to sleep half an hour, and that was it. I was so overwhelmed but disturbed in my mind that I couldn't sleep. I had to take pills to sleep, but I don't like these things, so it was not suiting me really well, and it was very difficult to handle. I'm not going to do a video about my depression because that is another subject. It's not exactly the same. I decided to go to see a psychiatrist, I don't know how we say it, a psychiatrist in French, someone who is specialized in that, because I thought that I had a depression, but I was not sure, because the depression is something really very specific. I had difficulties to eat. One day my son put the food in my mouth, and it's when I thought, okay, I must do something because I don't want my son to feed me. That is something which cannot happen anymore. So I went to see this specialized doctor who asked me a lot of questions and who said, yes, you are in a huge depression. And he treated me with anti-depressors. And the anti-depressors were not to make me happy. It doesn't work like that. It was just to make me sleep, because my brain was not making the necessary serotonin to sleep. So it was an unbalanced chemical situation in my brain. So the pills were there just to provide what was necessary to make my brain create some serotonin, and the serotonin allowed me to sleep. And very quickly I could sleep again, thanks to these pills. If you are interested in depression and how to treat it, I can give you my experience in another video if you are interested. I didn't even have to take pills to sleep properly because the antidepressors were working perfectly. It doesn't mean that suddenly you are happy and yuppie and everything is fine and you are not sad anymore. No, it doesn't work that way. You are perfectly conscious of your pain. You perfectly know what the situation is. Just one thing, you can sleep and you can eat. So if you sleep and if you eat, you can then function normally, and then you are able to do the everyday things that you have to do in your life, and then you are able to handle better the situation. But when you don't sleep, you cannot handle anything because you are focused on the fact that you don't sleep, and then you don't think about what is going on and what you have to do. I still had a trip to prepare because my son wanted to go, I still wanted to go to Los Angeles. I had to get better to be able to do it. So I've been treated during a while. I've been able to move to LA in June 2006, so no, actually at the end of May 2006, so 1 year later. But I needed this time to recover, not to recover, but to feel better at least. One thing that I would have liked to know before, even if you are married during a very long time, some ex-husbands are very correct and are going to provide for you and to help you to stabilize the situation, and they are going to help you with your children, with their children, with the children. They are not going to leave you alone just like that. But in my case, I was left alone just like that, and it was difficult because I thought that I should have had a job even until the end. Even if we were meant to travel, then I should have had an activity, a job, something where I was making some money, so I wouldn't depend so much on what he wants or not, you know. And especially, even beside the money, the financial factor, the fact that you see other people, that you are in contact with other people, you interact with other people, it means that you have another world. You have a world which is yours, which has nothing to do with the companion, husband, partner, whatever it is. So when the person leaves, suddenly you are not falling down and down and down because there is nothing else to hold you. My only activity that was preparing my trip, because the trip was still in motion. So fortunately I had that to do. During this year when I was in Paris, in this situation when I had to get cured, I was going to see a psychiatrist for the pills, but he was also doing sessions with me at the same time. And I also went to see a therapist, a woman, fantastic, who helped me a lot, especially to do some craft again, because I was unable to paint or to do craft. She really helped me to, I would say, to survive, to overcome this difficulty. During this time, my ex-husband was on and off, so he didn't want to stay with me. So when I was like, okay, so goodbye, we don't see each other. If we were staying during 3-4 days without talking, then he was coming back and he didn't know what he wanted, and then he wanted to go away, and then he was not sure, and then maybe we could do it like that, and then it was, that is really not good. If you are in this situation, don't. The guy wants to go away or the woman wants to go away, they must go away. You must not allow them to come back, even if you want them to come back. I know it's really hard because you want them to be back, you want them to have them close to you again. You think that if they come back they are not going to be able to live. It's false. No, it just creates a situation which is not clear, which is not sustainable. Yes, it's not clear, it's confusing for your mind, it sends the wrong message, it's wrong. So he was saying that he wanted to leave, yes, but he was able to come back even when I was not asking for it. At a point I came to Los Angeles to try to start the thing, but I was feeling so bad. I came with my son, he joined us here. He joined us here after 4 days, telling me that he wanted to leave me again. So it was like if I was left all the time. He was coming back just to have the pleasure to leave me again. And this thing lasted almost during 1 year. No, not almost, during 1 year. And at a point, when I was feeling much better, I said, that's enough. I take my stuff, I leave. And I was the one who moved away. So at the end of May 2006, then I came back to take my son, because my son had some exams for his school, so he had to finish high school. And then I came back to pick him up, and we went back then in August. And then, well, I'm not going to tell you all the story of the US because it's a very long story. But anyway, I think that the best idea was really to cut the link between my ex-husband and I for good by leaving. Because as long as I was in Paris, he had the possibility to come back and see what was going on, and it was a kind of torture. I'm not saying that he was doing that purposely to hurt me, it's just that he didn't know what he wanted, and he was back and forth, and it was unbearable. for me, for my sons, because my son at a point came back from Japan, my older son, and himself told me, stop, you must really close the door. So if you have an ex who wants to break up with you, but who is coming back because he's not sure this or that, close the door, say stop. Allow yourself to have some kind of peace. It's better to suffer alone, knowing that you are not going to see the guy or the woman anymore, rather than having him or her coming back, doing their thing, and then leaving you again, dumping you again and again. That is not good. Don't. It's easier to say than to do, but you know, for example, I know couples, they are separated but they live in the same place because for the children it's better. No, I think, well, for my first husband, when we got separated, he went to live like a few buildings further, so my son could go from one place to the other. I mean, later when he was a teenager, and it was easier, of course, but it was very clear that we were separated. For my second husband, it was not so clear, because he didn't manage to cut the link between us. I don't know why. I don't think that he especially loved me so much that he couldn't. I think he was just afraid, like I was afraid. I think, I'm not sure, I don't know, I cannot speak for him. Also, if he didn't tell you that he wants to break up with you, but you feel that there is something wrong, ask. Don't continue like if nothing is going on, because more you wait, worse it is. If I had been conscious that something was going on before, I would have asked before. I was not conscious. I was feeling something, but I couldn't put the finger on it, and it's just at a point when I started wondering. I think we know it when something goes wrong, especially us women, because we are very sensitive. Some men are sensitive too, but I mean, we have a kind of intuition, and we feel that there is something off, you know. So when we feel that there is something off, it's better to talk and to ask and to clarify the situation, rather than wondering and making us sick inside. If he dumps you, if he wants to break up with you, more exactly, and he says because he loves someone else, I don't think it's a good idea to start going out with other guys just to make him jealous. Maybe it's a good idea if you really think that making him jealous is going to make him come back. Sometimes it happens, I don't know, it depends on the guy, it depends on the situation, it depends on the wife, it depends on how it is done. I don't know, it must be done by a very smart way, because I don't think that it's necessary to add complication to the complication. It's already complicated enough. If you go out with another guy just to make him jealous or make her jealous, it can have the opposite effect, like, oh, you see, she's cheating on me, so that's why I'm leaving. No. I understand that you want to save your ego. The ego is a kind of a little hurt, and you want to find someone to, I don't know, to make you feel better. But if it's just to make the companion jealous, it's kind of pathetic. It never gives good results. It happens that when my ex-husband left, I'm sorry, I'm touching things. My ex-husband left at the beginning, I was in complete denial, so it was, I'm sorry, it was absolutely no question for me to go out with other men. It was even not, my only concern was to sleep, so it was not the situation. But a few months before I left definitively to Los Angeles, I went out with my very old boyfriend, my sweetheart of high school. It was more to see him before I left, because I hadn't seen him in a while, because I was married and it wouldn't have been appropriate for me to contact him. But for the minute I was not with my husband anymore, I wanted to see him, just to have news from him. I shouldn't have, because I've been very disappointed by this guy. But in the same time, I'm glad that I did it, because I didn't wonder anymore how he was doing and what was going on with him. So this guy, this sweetheart, has been my boyfriend during a very long time in high school. And then after my first marriage ended, and then after my second marriage ended, so it was a guy who was coming all the time like that, like an old friend, you know. But no, not a good idea. And anyway, it didn't even make my ex-husband jealous, because he already wanted anyway to go with the other woman, and he didn't want to move to LA, and that was it basically. It's possible that he left me because he didn't want to move to LA. I asked him if he wanted us to stay. He said no. Anyway, even if you stay, I'm not going to stay with you. So it was better that I do what I wanted to do anyway. So once you are dumped, or once the breakup is official, don't commit suicide. It's going to be obvious what I'm saying, but please don't. I tell you that because I have a friend who was in high school with me, and she committed suicide after having been dumped by her husband after so many years, and she died. So no man or no woman, actually, no man or no woman is worth committing suicide for him or her. No one, no one. If you feel that you want to die, go to see a psychiatrist. Get some help. It means that you are in a depression. Same thing if you don't sleep, if you don't eat, do something. Help yourself. This is not a normal situation. You think that you are not going to be able to do anything to change that you are too sad to change anything. No, you are wrong. You are really wrong. It's a matter of perception. When you are in a depression, you have a perception which is quite different from when you are not in a depression. So when you are in a depression, you don't see clearly, you don't think clearly. So get some help. Find a way to overcome that. Go to see a specialist. Even if you don't have money, go do something, because it can save your life. So please don't commit suicide. I thought of, but you know, not because I was so sad because of my ex-husband, because I was becoming crazy not to sleep, and I was like, I can't make it anymore, I need to sleep, and I can't sleep. It was driving me crazy. So that was why I thought at a point of ending my life, but I thought also of my children, and I didn't want my children to have a dead mother. So that helped me, but not everybody has children, and maybe you think you are not worth it. Everybody is worth it. You are worth to stay alive. So please, if you are watching this video right now, if my video can be useful to one thing, if you want to commit suicide, you are wrong. You are wrong. You are not in the good state of mind. There is something wrong which can be turned around, which can be changed. You can help yourself. You can do something for you, and you can change the situation. I'm not saying that everything is going to be wonderful and it's going to be woohoo wonderful. No, it's not going to be easy. But later you are going to think, wow, fortunately I did what was necessary. So, of course, once again my camera ran off batteries, so I have to continue on my cell phone, on my iPhone. I'm sorry about that. I'm going to be as fast as possible. Also, try not to panic. For example, if you don't have a job and you are depending on your husband or your companion and he dumps you, find the way to find a job, or find the way to not to panic. Find solutions to handle the situation. Of course, it's easier to say than to do, but when you panic, just don't. Say yourself, don't panic. Try to find a solution in your head, in your mind, and then try to handle the situation as good as you can. Maybe go to a friend's place, maybe go back to your parents' home, maybe anywhere where you are going to feel better, but find a solution to get out of it. And you will figure it out little by little. It's not going to be easy, but you will find a solution. The first reaction when we get dumped is the denial. We don't acknowledge, we refuse the situation, we don't believe it. I remained too long in this denial situation, and the fact that I was treated for my depression didn't help, because then I was completely focused on my trip to Los Angeles, so I didn't deal with the breakup. I just put my attention on something else, which was moving in another country, creating a business, asking for a visa. It was a lot. It was my way of overcoming the situation. It was my way of handling it. But it's not good because, well, it was good because it made me survive, of course. But it was not good in the sense that I didn't deal with it. So I was in the denial during a while, but actually I was not thinking of anything. I was just not dealing with it. I was not just thinking about it. I was on something else, like if it didn't exist. The problem is that as I didn't deal with it, I didn't have a new personal life, love life, because in my mind I still had this thing to handle, but I postponed that for later. But from later to later, it was really late. Now, you imagine 2005, I moved in 2006, 12 years ago. And 12 years ago, I just didn't deal with it. And now here I am, doing my business, doing my immigration stuff, still trying to stay in the US country. But I didn't really have a real personal life, and that is not normal, and that is not good. So the denial, it's normal to go through it, but don't stay too long in this denial, and you must face the situation. The anger, I didn't go through that. You should. When I say you should go through the anger, I don't mean that you must go and kill your ex or beat him, or I don't know, break his things or set a fire in his home. Certainly not. No violence. You must keep your anger for yourself, or maybe you can, I don't know, have an anger crisis in your home alone. You must accept to be angry. I didn't go through the anger myself. My therapist told me it was not normal, that I had to be angry, and I couldn't. And sometimes I have little small thing which comes just like that, and I'm like, you know, too late. It's too late. You can do that after, but 12 years later, I think that it only confuses my cat, and that's it, you know. One thing also, don't start hating men or women in general. It's not because you had partners who did that to you that all the men are terrible, or all the men are going to cheat on you, or no. There are very decent men and women in the world. You just didn't find the right person. Same thing for women, actually. Some women are terrible and some women are nice. You must not start hating the other gender. What's the point? You are only punishing yourself. Even hating your ex, you can be mad at him or her. You can be angry, but hate, it's something which takes too much energy. And you have to move on. So you must not fall in the hate. because then you are going to drag that your whole life, and that's not good for you. Actually, you are going to punish yourself, not the other person. So that is something important. You have to accept to wallow. You have to accept to feel the pain, to face the pain. I know in the US everybody must be always happy and strong. I don't think that you can overcome the situation and handle the situation properly if you don't wallow, if you don't accept the suffering, if you don't accept the pain, if you don't accept to look at the pain directly in front of you. I mean, you don't look at the pain, but I mean, really, you need to feel the pain. That's what I mean. You need to feel the pain, and you need to accept to feel the pain. I'm sorry, I'm holding the camera. I have nothing to hold my iPhone. I must find something to hold it. Maybe if I do it like that. Yes, that's better. I know that if you wallow, you think that you are weak and that you shouldn't wallow, and you should right away start a new life and a new activity and new friends and new boyfriend. Take the time to wallow and to accept the pain, because you can only overcome the situation and move on if you accept the pain and you look at it. I've been wallowing a lot, more than necessary, but in the same time I was very busy doing my business and my activity and my trip and all that. So it's not like if I was losing my time, because I was active in the same time. But I understood that I was over when one day someone in my shop asked me why your husband is not here, and I told the person, oh, because he dumped me for another younger woman. And the person was like, whoa, that's terrible. And I laughed. It made me laugh so hard, but I was genuinely laughing. I found that so funny. Funny, it's not funny, but I mean, I found that almost comical. And I was like, no, it's you know, it's such a cliche, it's the usual story, you know. I told to myself, so you see, you are done, you're good, you got over it. And now when I think about it, it makes me smile. I have good memories. Nobody can remove the memories from my mind. I have my son, I have my other son, I have a great life. I have a cat, I have a business. I made so much in the meantime by being sick and by being sad. And I'm rather proud of myself. Now I would like to find someone else, someone who is going to be my true love. Because I thought that my ex-husband was my true love. He was not. He was not. So, yeah, wallow. Accept to be weak, accept to wallow, accept the pain, accept to suffer. Don't pretend to be fine when you are not. It doesn't mean that you must drag everybody down around you. No, it just means that you must accept to be sad. It doesn't mean that you are going to be sad forever. At a point you must stop being sad, of course. I don't think that it's good to search for another man right away, because it's a recipe for a failure. Unless you really need to be with another man quickly because you want to feel better. If you feel good by doing that, okay. But if you do it just to show to the other one, you see, I replaced you right away, I'm fine, I don't care about you, don't. That is unnecessary. Don't care about what other people think, and especially do not care about what your ex think. What is important, it's for you. If you go with another man or with another woman just because you want to piss off your ex, don't do it. If you do it just because you really need to be in the arms of another person, then do it. I wouldn't mind being in the arms of another person right now. Just, I don't want to do it with anybody. I want to do it with the right person. And as long as the right person doesn't happen, I prefer being alone than with someone that I wouldn't like, you know. And I don't care what my ex think, you know. Actually, he's not even with the new woman. He already went to a third woman. But I don't care what he thinks or what he wants or what... I'm focused on what I want. That's the most important for me. I mean, sorry. I'm really sorry for the camera. Could be better. And if your ex behaves like a jerk, if he doesn't behave well, ignore him or her. Don't start arguing. Don't start a battle. It's a loss of time. It's a loss of energy. You must focus on what is positive. You must be surrounded with people who are nice to you and who are positive. If you have children, you must think of your children first, and then you, and then the rest. Think of the happiness of your children. See how it can fit with your own happiness, and the rest out. Forget it. If you can keep a good relationship with your ex for the sake of the children, good. It's really good to do that. But if it hurts you, try to find a way to make it good for the kids, but also to avoid suffering yourself. If it's a pain for you to see your ex, try to avoid seeing him. Simply, it's as simple as that. For me it was easy. I was miles and miles away, so I found the best way to get cured. I saw him several times in Paris and even here because he came to visit his son. I'm done. I'm just done, you know. I don't care anymore. He's not my big love anymore. I thought he was, but he's not. He's just not. If you have any question, please ask. I will be very happy to answer as much as I can. I mean, I can answer, but it depends on if I know the answer or not. All the situations are not the same. All the lives are not the same. All the people are not the same. Each situation is different. I have a friend, her husband dumped her, broke up with her 1 year after me. It was incredible. It was almost the same situation. But they handled their lives completely differently because the ex-husband is still very present and still they managed to remain friends, which is really good. I would have liked that, but my ex is really weird. He behaves like if I was the one who dumped him, so I don't care. I don't care anymore. I moved on a very long time ago. And I think that I almost appreciate the experience that I lived because I know that it can be useful to someone else. And that if I can help someone else, I will. If you have questions about depression, anti-depressors, how to deal with that, anything about that, or anything about a breakup or whatever, I will answer. I'm here to help the people who are in this situation. I was fortunate enough to have wonderful therapists when I was feeling really bad, and I'm so grateful for that. There are very good professionals out there. If you live in Paris, I can give you the addresses because these people are worth calling them. They saved my life. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So don't forget that. Okay, see you very soon. Don't forget to subscribe if you didn't yet and like this video if you do. I see you very soon. Bye bye.